it comes to software development specifically, I would say things will become much easier. So yes, the current jobs will cut down, but the same people who are doing something right now will be doing something else in software development itself. We should be looking at LLMs is definitely as an infra layer. Every industry will be using LLMs in some form or the other. What is that problem you're solving and for whom you're solving? You can say, oh, I'm solving it for the world, everybody in the world is going to use it. But that's not how it works. You should definitely identify who's your target audience. So building is one part, but selling, getting to your potential customers is another part. And I think third is having a co-founder. That is really, really important. Yeah, as an immigrant, first of all, you need to figure out the visa stuff. So there is like O1 visa for entrepreneurs. There's another one which this immigration parole, which is released especially for entrepreneurs who have more than $260,000 in funding. So once you have the visa sorted, then you need to plug in to the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem.
So, hello and welcome everyone to whoever's listening to this particular podcast. Today, I have with me Pritika Mehta. Pritika is the co-founder of Butternut AI, a platform that allows creating professional websites without going through the hassle of hiring web developers. Prior to Butternut, Pritika has entrepreneurship experience building a couple of other products which later got acquired. So it's finally nice to have you on the podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Really excited for it.
So to understand a little bit of your background, like your startup says Butternut AI. So what was your entry point in AI? Like how did you get started into AI? What was the landscape of AI when you entered it, and how did this idea came about?
Mhm. So I entered AI back in 2014 and 15. So, um, the history of it is since childhood, I've always enjoyed mathematics. And I think I kind of found my passion in maths, coding, and art. I really like the euphoria that comes from creating things from scratch. And as I grew up and did my undergrad in computer science, I discovered Andrew NG machine learning courses on YouTube. And machine learning is heavy on mathematics and calculus, and I think I kind of found my passion like the at the intersection of computer science and mathematics. That's what led me into AI, after which I pursued my master's in AI from New York, and I worked for TripAdvisor, Bank of America. And I think yeah, I mean, just that possibility of building intelligent machines, and how maths and coding can change the world, that always excited me, and that led me to pursue my career in AI and computer science.
Interesting. And how did this idea of building Butternut AI come about? As in, like, was it something inspired from your past gigs, or something that you faced as a challenge in one of the products that you were building the other way? How did this idea come about, and how did you decide that, okay, I want to make something of a tangible product out of this?
So when Transformers came, I started looking at different problems that would be solved. As an AI engineer, I could see how the world is going to change in next 5 years. So I was looking at different segments, different domains. So being a software developer myself, I have coded my entire life, and I have built so many websites in my life. So it was like, do like how do we see the world 5 years from now? Would we need as many software developers as we have right now, or would we need to go through all these hassles to build any software 5 years down the line? And truly the answer is no. So that's how it came. Like, can we build complex softwares using natural language? Can a person who knows what he or she wants to build, can they build it just using natural language? And for us, entry point were websites, because with the moment you start a business, whether it is online business or on ground business, you'd like to launch your website. And even in this era where there are tons of solutions there in the market, when you talk to people how they got their website made, honestly, nobody's delighted with the experience. They either went through the hassle of building it on Wix or Webflow that has its own learning curve, or they hired some dev shop and paid somewhere between $10,000 to $20,000 just to get a simple website made. So that's how we launched. The bigger vision was to how to automate the entire software industry using agents, but the entry point was websites for us.
Okay. So let me zoom out a little bit and maybe understand this perspective. So like there are tools that people talk about, like we have GitHub Copilot, we have Devin, which was recently released and also taken back. So there has always been a debate to understand, can we really automate software engineering? And I know it's a very broad umbrella. Like I think there are different aspects when we talk about programmers. And if you see with the development of AI, I think the number of people who work in software has always increased as of for now in the last at least 10 to 15 years. So how do you see? Do you see that programmers in general, the quantity of programmers will be decreasing, or do you see the landscape of what a programmer is doing right now that will change? Like these are two separate questions. Like, do you feel that the quantity of programmers will be in shortage, or do you think the task will be different?
So I think these two things are interconnected. So when we see with the AI part, like imagine the world when we were doing all this HTML and CSS on Dreamweaver, like compared to what we do now. The same way, yes, the roles will change. Like, what you're doing currently will not be relevant after 5, 6 years. But so we'll have to adapt to new skills and things will become easier. When it comes to software development specifically, I would say things will become much easier. So, yes, the current jobs will cut down, but the same people who are doing something right now will be doing something else in software development itself. So it's just the landscape will change and we'll have to adapt to that change. And things will be easier looking forward.
So how do you see this era of large language models? Because nowadays people are using this large language models as a prompt technique to generate code generation tools, right? So do you see that to be adopted much more widely in the software engineering space? Like with moving forward, let's say 10 years down the line, we'll be using this model to generate rather than writing things from scratch.
Yes, yes. Even if you compare GPT, from their first version to what it is right now, it cannot roll out an entire software or a website, but the kind of snippets it rolls out and the kind of understanding it has of your prompt is much more enhanced. So this is only going to exponentially increase in the world. Now we are saying you can build your entire website in 20 seconds with Butternut AI. 5 years down the line, will be like you can build an entire software in under a day using Butternut AI. So yes, the way we should be looking at LLMs is definitely as an infra layer. Every industry will be using LLMs in some form or the other. Everybody will be using AI applications in some form or the other. So yes, everything will evolve. Even their capability to understand natural language will evolve. They are not great at understanding code right now, but yes, as we evolve, that is only going to become better and better.
I see. And do you see these AI tools more like an assistant, or do you think it would be like a replacement? As in, like, if I am a developer, do I need to adopt to these technologies, or do you think it would be like something like Copilot right now? Like I am using Copilot as a tool rather than it's something that's being replaced.
Mhm. So when people talk about, oh, AI is going to replace us, this and that, I think maybe 15 years down the line, yes, that will be possible. But how we should be looking at these new technologies evolving, we should be looking at them as an assistant, like GitHub Copilot. It's so useful, right? Even ChatGPT to generate certain snippets of code, it's very useful. So what I believe is the future looks like we are going to have agents to do all the tasks we do. I would say most of the tasks. Like, if you're running a company, you have so many tax compliances. You have to do a lot on the HR end. You have to, like, on your sales calls, definitely you're not going to send your AI agent to take a sales call, but there will be AI assistants who will be recording your sales calls, bringing out the right snippets, what went wrong, what went right. So analysis will be done using agents, or you will have agents to do shopping for you. Like an agent is trained on my phone that already knows what I like, what I don't like. And if I have a party coming in, I just say, oh, I'm looking for some dress which is more of a cocktail dress, and the agent already knows me. It knows my behavior. It would go on the internet, find for the perfect solution in my budget, and present me with some options. So, and I think there are many, many areas. I mean, there's no area, I think, which will be left untouched with these AI agents or LLMs. Like dating, I see dating is a huge segment for it as well. Once agent understands you, it can talk to the other person on your behalf. But I think very artistic stuff will be more in demand in future, because everything, a lot of things machines will be able to do, but uh, yeah, I mean, something that a human can write or something that is crafted by a human will be more in demand and will be more expensive in the future. So that's how. See, yes, initially they will be your assistants, and then as they understand you better, there will be a lot of tasks that your AI agent can do without your intervention in the longer run.
Okay. So I'll have more specific questions about LLMs, but I want to go along that trajectory is to understand. Can you tell us more about what exactly Butternut AI does? Because now, like people, I think there are plenty of tools in the market where you can go to if you want to have like a home page or landing page for your website, for your business. What exactly does Butternut AI do on top of that, and where exactly is the AI component being integrated? What exactly is being powered through LLM versus what's just through the templates?
Sure. So Butternut AI is a generative AI platform where you can generate your website in under 20 seconds and take it live. It's ready to go live website. And what we do is we have built an AI model that could understand your business category and your target audience. So you just need to give a prompt and with your business name and tell us something about your business, and an entire website with the kind of pages your business needs, the kind of color things you need on your website, the kind of sections you need, everything will be done for you in under 20 seconds. Then everything over there is customizable and you can adjust it according to your brand requirements. On top of that, what's interesting, what we are building is we are rolling out an AI agent through which you can chat and tell what exact, like once you have the website, once you have the canvas, every business need is different. So you can talk to that AI bot and tell what you want. Let's say you are building a real estate website. You are a real estate agent. You own a real estate agency, and you are building a website. So you roll out the initial version, and then you want to build a form that takes maybe 10 fields as an input to understand your user better. So you just talk to our AI agent, tell what you want, and it will do the entire coding, build the entire front end at the back end for you, and roll it out. And yeah, you don't need to know any coding for it. If you know coding, good, you'll have options to adjust certain things here and there. But if you don't know, you can just keep on telling our AI what you want. And if you don't like something about it, you can again talk to our AI and tell, oh, I don't like the color scheme, I want it to look more modern, or I need to add certain more fields. All those things you can just do without knowing coding. So that's the future. That's what we are doing with Butternut AI. The plan is to perfect the website building space and then go into complex softwares.
Very interesting, very interesting. And would that be a part? So, like you were talking about AI agents just a few minutes back, and is your plan to integrate those kind of functionalities into this particular whole ecosystem of building the websites, or like is that some completely separate as a different idea?
No, no, no. This is integrated into the entire Butternut software. So we don't just see, SMEs using our softwares. A lot of agencies who build for their clients, they have started using Butternut, and they really enjoy using these tools. So even developers now they prefer using these tools over writing the code from scratch. So yes, everything is integrated like in Butternut itself. It's a part of Butternut.
Okay. And I have been talking to this a lot of researchers who work on LLMs at the intersection of research and understanding how to build these better models. And we frequently talk about what are the limitations of LLMs. I'm curious, like, have you experienced any kind of limitations as of for now that you think if LLM was able to do this, it would be much more better? Like, are we like at which stage of nuances you would say that all kind of LLM models or APIs that you have been using for your backend?
So, see, LLMs are not perfect as of now. They are evolving. Like if you compare GPT 3.5 and GPT 4.0, they're very, very different, right? 4.0 is definitely more enhanced. So when you say what LLM cannot do right now, yes, it cannot do a lot of things. You can't ask, LLM to build a website. It will just give you a snippet. It won't work. It's not gonna work. It cannot do shopping on your behalf. It cannot understand you better. So it's more like it doesn't have, when you're using APIs, it doesn't have memory, which is a huge disadvantage. So LLM, I think what we are going to see 5 years down the line, we are just at like 2 or 3% of it right now. So it cannot do a lot of tasks at the moment. So Yes, it's evolving, and I'm excited to see what lies ahead.
And do you think these tools, like as of now, maybe might not be the case, but do you think these tools would be easily adapting to complexity of models? Because, like, let's say software developers back 5 years, were developing a certain ecosystem of code, and of course, when we deploy this, we make it at scale. It faces a lot of issues, and that's why we need to hire developers to see what's working, what's not working, maintaining the code, breaks, and a lot of things. Do you think this set of LLM based tools would be also be able to understand the complexity, because it's a moving target, right? Like, we'll face new challenges when we develop new softwares, new tools. Do you think they would be also be able to adapt and fix those bugs itself, and understand what's ahead of them?
Sure. I think the way we should be looking at it is LLM is the infra layer. On top of it, there are apps getting built in every domain. And what you're talking, fixing bug, there might be somebody in this world who is actually working on that problem using certain LLM and building their own application on top of it. So, if you ask me, will it be possible? Yes, it will definitely be possible. You can go and tell your agent, this is my input, this is the output, this is the bug. Can you go look out, what's not going right and what is the expected output? So yes, definitely it is possible, and somebody is definitely building that kind of application somewhere. So LLMs are very generalized models. If you need specific knowledge, you need to fine tune them, or you need to build some application on top of it. Just like I mentioned, you cannot ask an LLM to build a website, to host it for you, to connect your domain name, to build, to understand your business. That's the reason why Butternut exists, because we build things on top of it and we are solving a certain problem in the world. The same way, like when iPhone came, like it became an infra layer where now people could build apps on top of it. Uber, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, everything was built on top of it that was solving certain problem, and they focus on that problem. The same way we should be looking at the future of AI, the future of LLM. So it's an exciting space to build right now, and building in AI and solving a problem that was solved in a very different way earlier is really exciting to look at. As you're in SF, I'm sure you have met so many people who are already building in AI space. In fact, I would say most of the people are building in AI space now.
That's true, and I agree. I think one of the way I would like to put it is, like, LLMs provide a very nice boilerplate to many of the existing code-based solutions. So there has been a very mature development in development space, because this has been to at least more than 20 years that it has been existing. So there is a certain level of maturity when you build the basic level of any web-based interface, and I think LLMs are, like, it can eradicate at least some of the errors that humans might be making. So I think it can provide like a boilerplate for people to start with, and then it provides more avenues to be creative on top of that. And I think, yeah, but just to tag on to that thing, like, yeah, I have been in SF. This is my I think second month in being in SF, and I have been attending a lot of meetups, and I see everyone and anyone is using LLM based APIs to create their own version of idea. um, how do you see this space? Like, LLMs came, I think, maybe 1.5 to 2 years back when people started making this public. Do you feel the competition of startups who are using LLM based anything? Because yeah, it would be a completely different podcast if I talk about what kind of things people have been using LLMs for. How do you feel the space of competition for startups that are using LLM powered tools?
I think the way we look at it in San Francisco is we really don't look at the competition, we look at the opportunity. And when you say, companies using LLMs, like that's not a competition to in first place itself. Secondly, it's like, what is the problem that particular person or the particular startup is solving is what is interesting to look at. Like everybody is using LLM, yes, true, but what are they using it for? How are they using it for? How has somebody actually built an application on top of it using LLM, or build their own model? Or yeah, so I don't think so it's a competition. It's more like the opportunity out there, and everybody is using that opportunity. Just the way when internet came, like me building an internet versus you building an internet wasn't a competition. What you are building versus what I am building is actually showing how we are using the current technology to predict the future. So that's how we look at it.
True, true. And what was so I you have a lot of experience building things. Like I think even before Butternut, you have had the experience of building other products. Feel free to talk more about it. But the question that I want to put forward is, I'm pretty sure that would have been projects that you started off and you didn't see it succeeding, as in like you didn't see it flying, even though you might have been heavily invested on that particular idea. What was that point for Butternut that you felt that okay, this is an idea that I'm really passionate forward, but like how do I make sure that I want to leave my full-time job and pursue and put my efforts that makes it fly to the next level? So what is that click or switch that you have realized that you can share with people who might be also thinking of similar ideas?
So yeah, as I mentioned, when these transformers came, being having my background in AI, I was always following what's happening and what change I could make. So yeah, I actually, you could see the future. And once start looking at different problems from this angle, I think I made a list of 50, 60 different problems I could go after. And then definitely you have to see, how big the market is that you're going after. It should not be a niche, small market. Then how passionate you are talking about it, building it, because it takes years to build anything. It takes years to build something, to sell something, to get customers, to get the PMF. So, are you passionate enough to solve this problem in the market? And I think me, by myself being a coder, I have built so many websites in my life. I've never been delighted by that experience. And I kind of believe that I could change that experience for the world. Building a software is not going to be a hassle for anybody. Rather, it's going to be an opportunity to get your business going quickly. Because with all the intelligence in the world available now, if you understand this segment, like software building in itself is a huge, huge segment. So even if you could solve one part of problem in that segment, like front end, back end, design, QA, anything you could solve, it is going to be a multi-billion dollar industry. So for me, it was like, it has always been like, everybody gets ideas, but how do you actually materialize those ideas and give life to them and see if that is worth pursuing or not? Is not to really just think of an idea. It's like bring that MVP to life. Build that first version, which is not going to be a fancy version. It's going to be a very crappy version, but actually could just show your vision, could actually do something. So that's how it started. So when this idea of going after the website building space, website and app building space came, so we sat down and we built this MVP. It was a very scrappy MVP we made, and then yeah, I wanted to understand whether I'm going in the right direction. I knew this is a huge space, everything is going fine, and this is the industry I'm going to go after, the software development industry. But then I wanted to know if the way I'm building it, the way I'm thinking it, is what other people also need it. So I just put up a tweet saying, hey, I built this a new Butternut AI tool that could make your websites in 20 seconds. Would you like to give it a shot? And I would love your feedback. So I posted this very simple tweet, only text tweet, on Twitter. And the funny thing was, nobody in my life, I was in my life, had really, I've never gotten more than 5 or 7 likes on my Twitter ever, and that too only from my friends and family. But fortunately, somehow this tweet went viral. People started building all sorts of websites on Butternut AI, and on the back end, I could see what kind of websites I could not even imagine. Like people across the world, they were building websites, and it went viral. And we launched on Product Hunt within 48 hours, and we were the top product there as well. So, and after that, we haven't spent a dime on marketing, and it's all word of mouth. I think it's just the value that people saw, like how their problem of building a website got squeezed from taking months or maybe a few weeks to just 20 seconds, and they could see the magic out there. That really led to people talking about it, sharing it with their family and friends, and that's how it just grew. And that's how I figured out that the direction I have taken is right, and definitely there's a lot of product evolution that is required to happen there.
I see. Yeah, I think there are a bunch of small businesses who might not be like who might be interested in using these kind of tools to get their idea out there, like having customer requests or like maintaining a web page where they can post our information so that customers can reach out. And it would be very useful to have like a website being generated by using some template where they don't have that much of a niche requirement for building websites. But a question that I have for you is like, if you were to say what is the main USP, is it a USP that you would be building a product or maybe allowing people to build a website in 20 seconds, or is it more like an automated version of like getting rid of developers? What is the MVP that people like that you have interacted with? What is the one thing that stands out for Butternut from your customers?
I think the intelligent software that we have built that could understand your business and definitely remove the need of having a developer in between. I think both things are interconnected. So having a website that is ready to go live in 20 seconds and it is easily customizable, and then you can talk to our bot to tell what sort of what do you need on the website, and in just you don't need to do drag and drop. Drag and drop is not built for browser. That is a shitty experience. You don't need any coding experience. So I think that's the USP: getting a website and getting Butternut to build the right website for your business with all the content, all the information that is required by your business in 20 seconds, and which is ready to go live, is the USP. So, you can try it. You can see how intelligently it can actually understand your business and your business category and your target audience. And whatever content is generated is already SEO optimized, because we see a lot of business owners, they struggle with SEO. And so anything and everything. So we have done all the things to make your website SEO optimized on the back end so that you don't need to worry about it. So that's
I
the
see.
yeah, but the entire experience of getting your website up and live in under like 5 or 10 minutes is the USP.
And I'm just curious, like, would there be a version, let's say, if I'm a customer of yours and if I'm trying to prompt it to generate a certain kind of thing, but I'm not very happy with it, like, let's say I prompt it once, twice, maybe 10 times. Is there a version where I can default to a web developer? I can talk to a person and maybe explain my idea, maybe that I'm not able to display it in a prompt or describe it in a particular search category. Is there a version where I can reach out to Butternut where there would be a developer who can maybe meet? Because in the current version of LLM, maybe it cannot do it. Is there a version for something similar to this kind of query?
Yeah, so this kind of query where you need something custom built, for that, as I mentioned, that we are rolling down the agent. But definitely, if there is some a certain thing, there's something very specific that even the agent is not able to do, then we do offer, how to actually prompt the agent that it does it. So it is able to solve most of the queries it is fed. But even if you don't get anything, you can definitely reach out to us at Butternut AI, and we are happy to help you.
Yeah. And one other question that I had, because I'm a research student, so I have my background in AI. I work with researchers who have like in-depth knowledge of how the mathematics work, how the networks work, how do you train a model, how do you produce results. And you come on the second stage, as in like you want to make a finished product out of this model, understanding what are the limitations and pros and cons. How much would you think a background in AI is really required to build a product that can use AI? Because I have been meeting a lot of people in these meetups who fairly have very shallow understanding of what AI models actually do. For them, it's like a magic, it's like a black box. You give it something, it outputs something. You follow the documentation, but when it fails, there is a very clear gap, and AI is still not mature, at least in my understanding. LLMs are, we have a still long way to go to understanding what are the limitations and pros of LLMs. How much do you think, in your experience, a background in computer science, let's say, or if specifically AI is really required if you are using APIs from these large language models?
See, when you are building a software, if you have experience in in computer science, it really helps. The same way, when you are building an AI product, when you understand how LLMs work, what it is capable of, and what it cannot really do, how you can fine tune those models, how you can, actually see, give your inputs and outputs, and how does that actually work behind the hood? If you have the information, you're definitely going to perform better, and your software is going to give better outputs. But in this age, yes, when you're building applications, it is good to have this knowledge. But yeah, even without this knowledge, I think generative AI space is fairly new for the entire world, and a lot of people are learning it. So when somebody starts building in any space, they tend to learn what's happening, what's not happening. They might not have the mathematical or the calculus knowledge of what happens behind the hood. But when somebody is building a startup, they are solving a problem for their customers. So I think having that fair knowledge of who their customers are, what are the problems they are facing is more important. And then you can definitely hire somebody who's an expert in machine learning to solve that part of the problem.
Makes sense. And I want to zoom out and maybe understand you as an entrepreneur, because I'm very interested. This is one field that, like, I think we were talking offline, is to understand how do you kickstart your journey as an entrepreneur, because I feel none of the universities teach you, unless you take like a specific entrepreneurship course where you teach where they teach you how to go along with that. But as an engineer, we are just focused on developing, understanding, like it's more like a problem solving mindset, right? Like we understand a problem and we go from not being solved to completely being solved. But there are other things. When you become an entrepreneur, you have to understand how the product looks like. What is the, like you said, the product market fit. In your case, the tweet blew up, but there was like an indirect product market fit that happened because you found out a lot of people who were interested. So first of all, I want to understand what is this journey has been for you as an immigrant, because I think there are different kind of challenges that comes when you're an immigrant in the United States trying to build your own product. There are visa issues, so like I'll let you comment on that. But also, I want to understand outside of that, like what are the challenges that you learned as an engineer that you didn't think that was in the textbooks. Maybe you learned it through some mentors or some programs that you would give to someone as a heads up that, okay, if you want to build, like, just make sure what you're signing.
Sure. So, okay, to answer your questions, let's start with when somebody's thinking of starting a startup. First of all, I think if you're in college, college is the best time to experiment because startups are experiments. And, in college, you don't have any burden of doing a full time job and you have time, you have friends you can build with, and you can try different ideas. Some might work, some might not work. It's okay. Yeah. So, how do you think of building a startup? Like what is the DNA required? So I think when as engineers we always think, oh, this is the problem, this is how we'll solve it, and this is the algorithm, this is how we are going to build the entire flow of the algorithm. But as an entrepreneur it should be like, okay, you're not, the way you should be thinking first of all is what is the problem you're solving in the world. It doesn't matter how fancy your code and everything is it solving some problem? you know what is that problem you're solving and for whom you're solving? You can say, oh, I'm solving it for the world, everybody in the world is going to use it, but that's not how it works. You should definitely identify who's your target audience. So building is one part, but selling, getting to your potential customers is another part. And I think third is having a co-founder. That is really, really important. You can have a friend you have worked with in the past to be your co-founder, or somebody you have met and you have that synergy and you align with the vision. So I think having a co-founder really helps. So what is the difference in between an engineer and an entrepreneur? Engineer thinks of how to solve a coding problem, whereas an entrepreneur thinks of how to solve a real world problem and generate revenue out of that. So that should be the mindset. And I think I was really inspired by Paul Graham's essays. They're very nice to read. They're very, they give you that fair knowledge of the world and fair knowledge of the startup ecosystem. So having that really helps. So I think that's one part. Then secondly, as an immigrant, yes, as an immigrant, when you're building something, it takes time. It takes a while to actually understand the market, because when you're coming from different part of the world, you have a very different concept of how the world operates, how the markets operate. But America, I would say, it welcomes anyone with open arms, and especially when you are in the Bay Area, the ecosystem is such that you are welcomed. People are open to share their knowledge with you. They are open to helping you. So yeah, as an immigrant, first of all, you need to figure out the visa stuff. So there is like O1 visa for entrepreneurs. There's another one, which this immigration parole, which is released especially for entrepreneurs who have more than $260,000 in funding. So once you have the visa sorted, then you need to plug in to the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem. So you can apply to an accelerator that could really help, or you can be around people who are building. So that's my advice to immigrant founders who want, who have the vision to build a startup. So that's what really helped me.
I see. And how have you been feeling the startup culture over here versus, let's say, something in India? Because I assume, like you said, you have your background in India, right? So how have you seen the change that compared to US? How do you see the startup culture in India versus in US? Are there any benefits? Like I think you did say there's a different, like there's a whole ecosystem of people. It adopts to any ideas. It's very easy to pitch in your idea and get a sufficient amount of public feedback. How do you compare these startup cultures across different continents? And feel free to compare it with other cultures also. Like I haven't seen startup culture for other countries, so it's hard for me to comment.
So I think when you compare it to the Indian startup ecosystem, I think the Bangalore startup ecosystem, it's quite mature, and yes, people are building out different solutions, and I would say yes, definitely the Silicon Valley ecosystem is much more mature. The ecosystem is quite tight, and but there are other countries where the startup ecosystem is evolving like anything. India, since I'm an Indian, I know it firsthand. Yes, there are a lot of innovative startups that have come out of India, and the ecosystem is growing every day. It is becoming mature. But I would say for deep tech startups, Silicon Valley is still the place to be.
Okay. Yeah, I think those were the set of questions I think I had for you because, primarily I was interested to learn more about you from is, I have been talking to a lot of researchers who are fairly optimistic or sometimes very pessimistic about using LLMs in the space of code generation or software development. And I think there has been a sufficient amount of debate when Devin came out and when Devin was pulled back because it gave a very fantastic demo. People got scared and some people were excited out of this, so it's very fair and very refreshing to know. And I think one thing that sticks out is to understand what are, like, I think adopting to new technologies is much more useful than like not making sure that it what it can do. So it's very refreshing to learn that how people have been using this Butternut AI to empower their platforms, and it leaves much more space to be creative on top of that. So at least the boilerplate of understanding how these websites are developed is being automated, but on top of this is where the competition will stay. So yeah, thanks a lot for sharing that. I'll be leaving links to your the Butternut AI platform itself and also your Twitter and LinkedIn handles. So I think there are some fantastic tweets that you do once in a while. So I think it's very useful and refreshing to be updated to this very fast-paced moving field. So thanks a lot for sharing this information and thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you. It was you are a great interviewer, and thank you for having me on your show.